Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Tuesday, January. Make that July. Why do I keep saying January? I said it last week twice. I said it tonight. Maybe because it starts with J? It's July, but it's late July already. What? Yeah, July 23rd, 2024. On the show tonight, veteran public speaker, veteran journalist Anita Krishna is going to join the show. We're going to talk about the state of our country and the state of the country south of us, because there's a lot going on down there. And the news cycle is incredibly fast in the last 9 or 10 days. Since the shooting, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, things have been moving at a breakneck pace. Today we find out that Kamala Harris has captured the Democratic nomination for president already before the DNC even starts next month in Chicago. I don't know how. There's a lot of high-profile Democrats who are backing her. Everybody except Barack Obama. And is Joe Biden dead? Or is he close to death? Or has he been dead for many, many years? I posted this earlier today on one of my social medias. I forget which one. And the comments were absolutely hilarious. He was killed in Guantanamo Bay 5 years ago, Shadow. Give your head a shake. I love that one the best. But he died 3 years ago. It's been an actor, like several actors playing his role. Can't you tell there's that one picture that we saw of Joe Biden a couple of years ago. From the back, it looks like a fold in the back of his neck that wouldn't exist naturally, not even in a man who is 79 or 81 or however old he was at the time that picture was taken. And so I went, well, that's interesting. Maybe it's a latex thing. Because he does tend to change from day to day, press conference to press conference, appearance to appearance, depending on whatever. Maybe Bob can't do it today. Maybe Bob's wife is sick with COVID at home, so Bob can't do it. We got to call Barry. But Barry's 2 inches shorter than Bob. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to notice. Just put the mask on him. Everything's going to be all right. They do, and we know this for a fact, they do use doubles of presidents to deter assassination attempts. But we don't know when. That's the point. We don't know when they do it and when they don't do it. So this has been a whole interesting thing unfolding down south. And we're going to explore that with Anita Krishna in just a couple of minutes. Let's go say some quick hellos to people who are here watching with us tonight, like Rita's watching in Vaughan, Ontario. Michael is watching in Ontario, Brampton, I believe. Johnny Bravo's watching on YouTube tonight. Hello, Julie. It's a well-scripted circus, Julie says, and I absolutely agree with that 100%. Dodian is watching. He is The Walking Dead, Dodian says. Dave is watching tonight. Could we contain a little credibility and not throw out stupid conspiracy theories? Dude, I can't even believe that you would say something like that after the 4 years that we've just experienced. I mean, come on, man. And besides, it's not just me saying it. We have actual mainstream media in the United States who are speculating on that. So let's not call anything stupid conspiracy theories anymore, unless, of course, you happen to be a troll and believe that Kamala Harris is the cure for everything that ails the United States of America. Mimi is here watching in Austinfeld tonight. Mireille is watching in Lacombe, Alberta. Hello, you guys. Let's get it out there to as many people as we possibly can. Like and share on Facebook. If you're watching on X tonight, please, it's a repost and a heart. YouTube, give us a like. If you're watching on Rumble, like Pamela K. Jones and Esky Dogs and Cafe Chum and Samour and Jennifer Jupiter and Cindy Curry and Winston Smith and Belle Biv Devo. Give us a like. Let's get it out there to as many as we can in the 100 million strong Rumble community. We really appreciate it. We got to get this show out to as many people as we possibly can. The show is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Explore all the fantastic products there. If you're looking for retail locations, you can go to the top right-hand corner of the website at CanadaNanoSilver.ca and find one for yourself. There's over 30 now all across the country, and if you would like to be a retailer of those awesome products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Again, that is CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Anita Krishna is our guest tonight. Hello, Anita. Thank you for coming on short notice. We only confirmed this a few hours ago.
Shadow Davis.
Anita Krishna.
It's my pleasure to see you. Fantastic. I can't believe you do this night after night. What a service you provide to
Thanks.
Canada.
Well,
Thank
you know, we have a good time getting together every night and talking about the crazy stuff that's going on. There's a guy in the comments right now who says, can we can the conspiracy theories? I want to hear what you have to say about that. Like, when we're talking about everything that's been going on in our country and down in the States, across the world, I mean, not just the past week and a half, but the past 4 years. I mean, what's your take on all this?
I get really tired of every bloody thing they say is a conspiracy theorist. Like, you cannot think, you cannot ask a question, you cannot look sideways at something, and then they say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm about up to here with that term. How about we just looking at another angle of the story? Because I've always felt like if somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist, they're doing that to shut you up. Oh, well, you're just, believe in Bigfoot, so you shut up, that type of thing. Like if you believe in Bigfoot, then I would listen to somebody. I'd interview somebody. Okay, so tell me what you found. What evidence do you have? Are there bones you found? Is there a Bigfoot family in the forest that I don't know about? I wouldn't be like, shut up, I don't want to hear from you. What kind of person is like that?
Anita, Bigfoot, come on. All right. I mean, we've got.
You know what I mean?
I do.
If you were to interview, if you were assigned a story and somebody said, go talk to this Bigfoot guy, you wouldn't be like, shut up, I don't want to talk to you as a journalist. You'd be like, okay, let me hear what you got to say.
Yeah, you would go and do as much research as you could on Bigfoot, the sightings of Bigfoot, especially where you are in British Columbia, because that's and the northwestern United States. That's supposed to be where Bigfoot is seen the most, and then of course there's Ogopogo and Kelowna, and there's all of the others. Hey, speaking of,
believe in it, you just have to examine it and tell the story.
Let me ask you, in BC, oh, by the way, I want to throw up a picture that was sent to me by Marcella Desjarlais earlier today.
Yeah.
She saw, well, you know Marcella, she's with Stand United BC, and she sent me this earlier today.
Oh, God.
Once she saw that you were coming on the show tonight, there's Marcella here.
Yes.
And then we've got this doctor, Daniel Nagase,
Daniel
right
Nagase.
there.
Yeah.
And then this guy, that's James.
That's James Davison, her partner. They started Stand United, and I didn't know what that was at the time when I got fired. But my friend Chester, he was a former global cameraman, and he said, you know what, are you going to get, the people were asking me to talk because they heard I got fired. And I said, okay. And I went to talk. I didn't know anything about this group. I just stood on the stage in Vancouver and then let that rip. That speech, was like, that was a letter rip speech, and that speech like resonated with a lot of people because I as far as I know, I'm the only Canadian whistleblower in Canada that was fired from network news.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody else. Like, there's nobody I know. I know one person who was fired, but he won't talk. And I bumped into him at a golf course a couple of months ago, and he's very quiet. I think he's still being paid out, so he doesn't want to say anything right now because of a non-disclosure. But he maybe at some point come out and say something. But you look very adamant right here. You look very determined in there. What were you saying here exactly?
Well, that speech, you can find it on my Rumble channel. I didn't put it on YouTube. Well, I'll just plug my Rumble channel. It's you can just look up Anita Krishna on Rumble and you'll find that speech. That was the speech where I sort of said, look, this was like right during the convoy. Okay. And so I was like, the biggest thing that I said there is that the biggest purveyors of misinformation is the mainstream media. And I had said that, and I had laid out what happened. I had explained what happened to me, and I was just like, this is insane what we're doing. You don't want to look at your grandmother through plexiglass. You want to hug your grandmother and put your arms around her, and all of this stuff is absolutely nonsense. it was just a huge speech, and everything I said there, I think, resonated with a lot of people because I just threw down as someone who had worked for Global News for 20 years. If you go to Global News at the time, or you even go there today, and you ask them to report on a story of a topic we're never allowed to talk about on Facebook and YouTube, everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. They will not run that story. They've never interviewed that doctor, Dr. Nagase. They've never interviewed Dr. Hoff. They've never interviewed Dr. Byram Bridle. They've never interviewed Mark Trozy. They've never interviewed anybody that is going to explain another side of the story. That is why I find the mainstream media so disgusting and irredeemable all these years later.
Anita, was that something that they told you guys as a course of action? We are not going to cover the other side of this? Or was it explicit like that, or was it kind of an understated thing? Like if you brought it up as a reporter or as a manager or an editor or anybody, that they would look down on you and say, can I see you in the office for just a few minutes?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, but it was a little bit like you just knew not to even speak about it. I don't even understand how that happened. But you know how when you're around mixed company, say you're like in the doctor's waiting room and you want to talk to the person beside you and you want to say something, but you know it's a taboo. And so you don't say it, just as you do in normal society. Everybody knew there that you don't say it. You don't bring it up. It's just, you are not going to be Maxine.
Yeah, because it could get you ostracized. You'll be like the black sheep in the hallways. Marcella pointed out to me also in a message this afternoon, looking at this photo, the corporate media tried to paint you as racists. Here we have a white dude, an Asian dude, a woman of First Nations background, and then there's you here. I mean, when they try to do that, that's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. To call me a racist, or you think I'm racist? You think I don't? Are you kidding me? I know real racism. I was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
I certainly had my share of racism. You couldn't believe it. We were the only Indian family in the town that I grew up with, east of Vancouver, the town that I grew up. I almost don't want to say where I live because I'm scared of somebody coming to my house.
No, I hear you. I hear you. You're kind of like Whitney Webb like that. So speaking of Chorus Entertainment, Chorus Entertainment laying off about 300 more workers due to revenue slumps. They're down significantly in their earnings this year. Last year, Troy Reeb, who's the new co-CEO of Chorus, went hat in hand to the Canadian Senate begging for more money, even though Justin Trudeau is paying these media companies off to the tune of $600 million over the course of, I think it's 4 or 5 years. Chorus laid off their entire radio staffs in Kingston, Ontario last week, and almost all of their TV staff there. They've laid off people in Kelowna as well. They've turned 2 radio stations dark, one in Vancouver, one in Edmonton. How do you feel about this? I mean, is this something that you kind of inside go, wow, that's serves him right? Or is it something else?
Well, you're okay. Okay, a couple things there. You're a radio guy also, right? And we kind of live and breathe that business. And I worked in as a control room director for 20 years, and you worked in radio, morning radio for a long time. It's something that's in our bones, and to see it die. There's 2 things I feel about that. I feel it is a well-deserved death now, because you've had plenty of time to redeem yourself. And you choose not to because of whoever is lining your pockets. The sponsors, the ads. You hear Pfizer ads on the radio. Yeah. So they have still not come clean about the damage that was done to people because of COVID, right? So, but it's a business I love. I love directing a TV show in a studio. I love doing it. I'm sad to see that dying because that is sort of a standard you could go to when you were looking for news. Now we are, like I've said before, we scratch around alone. Like we used to have a team and a network and affiliate stations, and we could, I felt like, bring you good news coverage. Fly in the chopper. Oh, there's an accident. We had resources to do what I thought was to bring people information. And then that all just got completely corrupted. There's nothing I love more than a good radio show where you call in, where people call in and you talk to them. My God, I love that. It's like my favorite thing to do. I'm not actually doing that right now, so I am sad to see the death of it. But what I'm not, I'm also glad to see the rise of the independents. But let me tell you, and the independents work really hard with nothing, with no team, no editor, no resource, nothing. And I'm resentful that I think the CBC got an extra $1 billion last year, and all their CEOs got bonuses still. They're still getting all that money. Hey, how about you guys? How about you, CTV, Global News, and CBC? You think you're so good? Why don't you go completely subscriber based like the rest of us?
Like PBS in the United States. Look at this tweet. I'm going to read the bottom part first here. Mark Garrettson, who is the Liberal MP for Kingston and the Thousand Islands. He says, "We've heard from concerned residents following Chorus Entertainment's announcement earlier this week," which came out last week, obviously, this tweet. "We know many community members rely on Global TV Kingston and area radio programs for news and community connection. That's why MPP Ted Sue and I have written a joint letter to Chorus Entertainment urging their reconsideration." And this is what Michelle Ferrari, the Conservative MP for Peterborough and Kawartha, says. Wow. This Liberal MP is responsible for passing legislation C11, C18, and soon C63. Hopefully this doesn't go through before the next election gets called. That prevented local media from sharing content online, which forces them to lose more business, resulting in inevitable layoffs, then pretends like he's going to help. This is psychopathic, she says. The gaslighting continues. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, the gaslighting continues. And I'm almost at a loss for words there. I mean, Chorus Entertainment is going to declare bankruptcy, right? And they've announced that they're going to lay off 25% of their staff. Their stock price is down 85%. I mean, this is all very depressing. But this guy who's trying to champion it to come back to life, well, you can't come back to life if you self-censor. You cannot, because of what Trudeau has done, put links on Facebook, put links on news. They've shot themselves in the foot. I don't understand this, right? You cannot on Facebook put a link to a news article because they want to charge a link tax. Facebook wants to charge a link tax because of what Trudeau has put in. Where were all you MPs chirping up back then?
Well, I believe that, and they're saying that big tech must pay its fair share to the media people, right? But ultimately, that would be like the paper boy paying the newspaper for the privilege of delivering their newspaper. The free advertising that the media was getting through links on Facebook and Twitter and all of the others, Google, I think Google is paying money now into that media fund. But the clicks they were getting from those stories being shareable on Facebook and Instagram was absolutely huge. It was probably 80% of the clicks they got on their websites, which created revenue for them. And now, since they haven't been able to do that, as you point out, especially Chorus, their revenue has gone completely into freefall.
They have shot themselves in the foot. And had they reported on that story properly, where people might have been a little more outraged and a little bit more aware, and it would have created some maybe pushback. Although at the time, because the news is dying, I'm kind of like, let it die, let it die. But they've done this to themselves. If Global writes an article and they can't post the link and nobody can click on it, then that means it's less eyes on their website, less eyes on their brand, less money going in their pockets. It's a stupid business model. But they want to do that, and they don't want to report against the government for putting that bill in. Well, then you've done it to yourself. You've sealed your own fate.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. Hey, do you think it would have been different if one of the big three, and we can take CBC out of this model, but let's say that Bell Media, CTV, their news network, or Global had reported fairly and honestly through the entire pandemic? Do you think that they would have gained viewership, readership, listenership based upon the fact that people wanted to hear the other side of it, but were continually gaslit and spoon-fed all of the rhetoric and the narrative that was coming from the government and from big pharma?
I still think that if they did one 30-second voiceover saying one honest thing, it would go such a long way, because people are dying to hear that. That's the whole reason why you're fighting with, although it's getting less now, you're fighting with your grandma and aunties and stuff like that. They're like, well, I didn't hear anything about this on the news. Well, you're never going to. And if CTV and Global could find it within themselves to report on some of the horrific things that have happened and not have such bias, liberal bias, then they would be doing themselves nothing but favors. Their numbers would go up. The reason everybody thinks they stink is because they know now they're being lied to and searching so hard for other sources. If these bloody people did a comprehensive newscast, they're on all day, the noon, the 5, the morning news, the 6 o'clock, the late night news, you have plenty of chances and opportunity to redeem yourself, but you don't. So goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it really hit home with me. At the beginning of it, I didn't know what to think, because the censorship was only just starting to happen. I was blown away when I first realized that, you know, the social media platforms were actually censoring what we were saying and then taking posts down away. I was like, what? Censorship? Are you kidding me? And then when you watch the media and you'd see the press conferences of all the various premiers talking about the restrictions in their areas and whatnot, you go, hey, you guys aren't saying anything here. The premier of Manitoba at one point was asked straightforward about ivermectin, and he said, yeah, we have to thank God for the rain we're getting right now because the farmers really need it. That was his response to that question. And I went, huh? So at least we had one real reporter, I'm not sure who he or she worked for, ask a question like that. But these media corporations embarrass themselves greatly. Hey, listen, we may have you guys, a special guest pop in on the show between now and the top of the hour. I'm not going to promise it because she's in the car right now, but we may have somebody like that. All right, Anita, in our conversation earlier this afternoon, I said, so what do you think's going down in the United States right now? And you said, I could talk about that for hours.
Oh, no.
So let's wind it back to the assassination attempt with Donald Trump. And we see here today that the U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle has stepped down following the Trump assassination attempt. That comes from theweek.in/news. What do you think happened that day?
Okay, now I've gotten in a bit of trouble on this idea, because I really feel like I've said before, we're running a script. Okay, so every day we get up and we're like in a Netflix show, and the news, the acceleration of this storyline is ridiculous. You know how when you watch a really good Netflix show, you get to the end and there's a cliffhanger and you have to click on the next episode? That's the definition of binge watching. But we are sort of binge watching the news because who's ever playing the puppet strings is, I feel, playing us so well. So when Donald Trump, that attempted assassination happened, I said, who's behind this? What's going on? Okay, who wrote this episode? Okay, what's going on here? Now, he had just come off that awful debate with Joe Biden, and his numbers are up. He's the leader. He's the front runner. He has no need whatsoever to have himself shot. You know, so some people, there's some school of thought that this was a staged event and that Donald Trump was behind it. Now, if you direct a movie and you direct a scene, you can make it look like he got shot, because you can say to him when he's doing your speech, we're going to launch a bullet at you, but you don't know when it's coming. Okay, it might come 3 minutes in, 9 minutes in, 10 minutes in, and that's how you get a real reaction. And part of me was thinking, could that have happened? I don't know, but it looks so natural, and his response looks so authentic. And a lot of people got mad when I said that. How dare you say that about dear Donald Trump?
They're thinking emotionally, Anita. They're not stepping back from the whole situation and going, exactly what happened here. I did a show the following Sunday night, and I said, all right, I titled the show, Let's Take a Deep Breath and a Step Back and have a look at what really happened here. So I postulate a theory, and I put this on a couple of nights ago, and here it is. I've got contacts at the White House, and last Wednesday or Thursday night, I can't remember which, they got a hold of me and said, Biden's stepping down this weekend. And I went, what? Wow, I never thought we'd see that, because he was, I think 2 days before that, he was standing up in front of a crowd of people saying, I'm running, I'm going to win, we're going to beat Trump. And so I thought, okay, he's going to try and stay in there. But then I also said on the show, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. They're not going to kill him, but they're going to say that he's dead or he's very ill and incapacitated and he's not going to be able to continue on as president. And then I get this message saying Biden's stepping down. I went, whoa, this throws a monkey wrench into my plan. And then, and this was before the assassination, no, sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to put all this together. So I went, all right. So last week I had heard, or 2 weeks ago, I had heard that Vivek Ramaswamy was going to be named as the vice president choice by Donald Trump. That's what I was hearing from my White House people. And then he named J.D. Vance the following week after the assassination attempt. So I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. I thought it was supposed to be Ramaswamy. I mean, that was the choice. And you can tell when you see interactions between Trump and Ramaswamy versus Trump and J.D. Vance. I mean, he hardly knows J.D. Vance. He doesn't stand next to him like a buddy or a compatriot in this war. He just kind of goes, yeah, okay. He shakes his hand and maybe puts does that pose. Mm-hmm. But I thought to myself, Trump wanted Ramaswamy. Peter Thiel and his PayPal mafia, who controlled J.D. Vance and several other politicians in both parties, and a very, very large, extensive surveillance company called Palantir. Palantir, I think they're called?
Palantir. Mm-hmm.
They wanted Vance, and they were telling Trump, you got to pick Vance. Trump was saying, no, I'm going with Ramaswamy. Assassination attempt. 2 days later, J.D. Vance gets named as the VP choice. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I always heard that Vivek Ramaswamy, you can tell they like each other. You can tell that Vivek likes Trump.
And the other way around, too. I think that Trump really likes Ramaswamy as well.
I think so, too, and I like him, too. If all these people could figure out their Israel policy, we'd be in good shape here. But I had heard, he had said many times, Vivek had said when he was running for president, that he doesn't ever want to be number two. How old is he? 30-something? You don't want to be number two? My God, you got to start somewhere. Have some humility. You would do a good service to the U.S. if you would be number two. But he goes, no. I always heard him say he would never accept being vice president, which I thought was a bit arrogant. But so I never heard that he was the man. But you've heard that Trump liked him, and they do like each other. And then you're right. Assassination attempt, and from out of nowhere comes J.D. Vance. Although a lot of people who knew J.D. Vance were happy that he was chosen, I just wasn't as familiar with him. But you're right. If you think about it like a show, here's the part of the Netflix show. Trump maybe wants to do what he wants to do, but they're big donors. I think Thiel and Palantir and whatever type of AI companies they all invest in, they all donate to him. So at the end of the day, does he not have to listen to his donors? I mean, in your opinion, do you think Trump is an autonomous leader?
No.
How can he be? Yeah.
I think he's controlled by Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia, all those big tech barons in San Francisco. And I don't think he likes the idea of that. I think Donald Trump wanted to break away from these guys. But now we're hearing about some appointments being made, like in terms of Secretary of the Treasury. We're hearing that Trump is considering Larry Fink of BlackRock.
Yes.
What?
That went around. I know. Well, that's such a tone-deaf decision. That went around a lot. Like, that got a lot of traction. Oh, did you hear he's going to put Larry Fink in? Larry Fink is too rich and perverse to even want to do a job like that. He doesn't have time for that. That's a minion job for him. But then Trump had tweeted he denounces that. He doesn't know where that came from. So I've heard lately that Trump has said, no, not Larry Fink. I'm not doing that. So at least there's that, but that did get a lot of traction. The Fink thing.
And there's other people. There's Go ahead with that one.
Oh, I don't know that much about it, but like those were the rumblings that these are the people that he was going to put in his cabinet or office or in superior positions. These two people that are completely deep state, completely establishment. When you actually look at them, and of course, I'm not the expert on that. Whitney Webb does a deep dive on it, and a lot of other journalists. Deep dive on that and the dealings. I mean, she seems to know a lot about the dealings. Even though she gets her criticism too, who doesn't get criticism, right? But that's a tone deaf, anti-American thing to go and appoint those two guys. If you're a blue collar worker and you're a painter and you're struggling to buy groceries and you think all these rich mofos are going to appeal to you. So
Right.
it was good that Trump said, oh, no, I don't know where that came from, but I denounced that. So I guess, all right, he can put an end to that. There was probably something to that because that had way too much traction. And the thing about J.D. Vance is he wrote that book, Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah.
There is also a Netflix series called Hillbilly Elegy. And so he was very poor growing up, an alcoholic family in the Appalachian Mountains. So he's poorer than poor. He's come from what they, pardon the language, white trash.
Yeah.
Right?
Not anymore. I mean, now he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars because of his association with Peter Thiel before he ever got into politics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, he's noodled his way in and rubbed elbows with all the right people to get him to where he is because I think he's pretty bright and pretty smart. I don't know that I haven't heard him speak that much, but he has said some dumb things because he said some stupid things about mandates before, like all the nurses should be fired.
Yeah, but he also, I mean, he was a never Trumper, and now all of a sudden he's I just, that kind of a turnabout makes me scratch my head a little bit too. I mean, there's not too many people that have come back from that Trump dementia syndrome, but so here's something new.
Yeah.
An additional 3 individuals identified as suspicious prior to Trump assassination attempts as Pennsylvania police commissioner. This was brought up today from the Gateway Pundit. So, I mean, how does a 20-year-old kid worm his way into supposed to be a heavily secured site where probably, I mean, the most famous man in the world and probably the next president of the United States is giving a speech with Secret Service? I mean, how does that even happen? And this is why when you say, yeah, it's like a Netflix series, it completely and totally makes sense. It had to be intentional, right? It had to be.
Yeah, but it's so hard to kind of figure out because this rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, wasn't like a big one. It wasn't like massive crowds, yet it had all network coverage, like a lot of news network coverage, all the right cameras pointing in all the right places, and that's suspicious. And all the things that we've now heard since he climbed up, he got a ladder, he was around for 57 minutes. And the Secret Service is not trained to blunder as such. They don't blunder like that. They're on it. Even in Canada, if you have an officer go somewhere to do a wellness check and something bad happens, they can kill the person they're doing the wellness check on. Sometimes they shoot to kill so quickly, but they didn't shoot to kill this guy, and he fired off all these shots.
8 to 10 shots we heard. Yeah, plus there's somebody on the water tower maybe now. And who was that guy? Now there's 3 new suspects. And what the hell? Plus this kid had a rangefinder.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And then think about JFK. Oh, it's, the whole scuttlebutt about that being a lone shooter. And they always kill the one person. Like, we've seen this story now. Now we're too smart for this, right? We used to be maybe a little bit vacant in the past, but now we're clued in and switched on to this. Oh, the one shooter tried to kill Trump and he's dead and we can't get in his phone and he has no social media background. What really is this?
I don't know.
And the woman that got fired, Kim Cheadle, that was such an embarrassing, humiliating grilling. All the grilling that happened to her. But do you think somebody was like, girl, you're going to say this and you're going to do this or we're going to kill you? How can she be that inept? Everybody says DEI, inept. I don't buy that. What do you think of that? Like, why did they fail so bad? Because I don't think mistakes are being made. This is all on purpose.
I think she may have been a DEI hire, but I also think that she has the credentials to be doing that job. I mean, a lot of people say, well, she worked at Pepsi. Say, yeah, but when she was doing security at Pepsi, plus she's got a plus 20-year background working at the Secret Service. She is very well versed in their rules and procedures. However, the team that surrounded Donald Trump that day, the day of the assassination. I mean, that one short girl who was standing in front of him or cowering behind him, I suppose. And then there was the other one who couldn't get her gun back into her holster. She was fumbling with it. It looked like a comedy movie.
I know it did. It did. But that's the clip that went around. That's their. Hey, maybe the other side. I'm Mrs. Get the other side too, right? Like maybe there were other. Maybe they were hot as hell and they were all over it. But we just happened to get that one bumbling clip. But that did look like something out of a movie. Like
Melissa McCarthy, right? Like Melissa McCarthy is starring in the Disney movie coming out this fall, DEI hire. What do you think about DEI? Well, I've got you here. Ridiculous?
Well, listen, I'm a minority woman, but I feel like I'm talented and I'm smart. And if you hire me, and if you hired me as a Secret Service leader, I'm going to tell you something right now. That stuff wouldn't have happened under my watch, even though I'm only 5'2", right? Because I'd have an army of people. I'd delegate. I'd know the situation. Boom, I'd have it handled. So when people say DEI, like, oh, she's hired because you have to have women, I never liked that argument, to be honest, even though, I believe in men's spaces and women's spaces. That doesn't mean that because she's a woman, she can't do a good job. And I don't ever want anyone to give me a job because I'm a minority. I want you to give me the job because you like me and you think I'm the best person for the job.
Because you deserve it, right? Right.
Exactly. Which is different from racism. Like, let's say, like, I'm obviously a minority. Maybe if I interviewed with somebody and they don't like me because they don't like me, if they're really inherently racist, that's their problem. I'm not going to be able to fix that, and I don't want to work with them anyway. So I don't need a government policy to force them to hire me.
Right. Exactly. Why would you want to be there anyway if they've been forced into a situation where they had to hire you? Yeah. All right. I'm going to throw this up on the screen here, Anita. This is Tucker Carlson from last night talking about a report regarding Joe Biden in Nevada, where he was last seen publicly. I'm going to mute your microphone. We're going to go ahead and listen to this. And then I want your thoughts on this, because this is the next crazy thing in the sequence of events.
This is from Charlie Kirk. The official story was that Biden's trip was cut short last week due to COVID. However, according to this source, U.S. Secret Service informed Las Vegas Metro that there was an emergency situation involving Joe Biden and to close necessary streets so that POTUS could be transported immediately to University Medical. Then mysteriously, there was a stand-down order, and the Secret Service informed local Vegas PD that they were going to medevac POTUS to Johns Hopkins, which they presume meant fly him back east as soon as possible. Apparently, the rumor mill in the police department was that Joe Biden was dying or already dead, possibly. Given that Joe Biden has been out of public sight for days and dropped out of the race via an X post, and his brother James indicated health was a factor, I'm beginning to grow more curious if COVID or something else has been more serious than reported. Clearly something is going on here. I don't know what it is. I know its hallmark, which is secrecy. Secrecy is the hallmark of lying. Right. So they're lying.
Well, I'm sure Las Vegas Metro would be just as forthcoming as they were during the during the October shooting.
Yeah, the worst mass shooting in American history.
All right, so is Joe Biden, are they doing this on purpose? What the hell is going on here? Has he been dead for weeks now? What is this? And they're just now starting to roll it out, because the way he resigned this past weekend on that non-presidential sealed tweet, he just said, I'm out of the race. I'm not doing this anymore. They say the signature was fake. And now all of a sudden, here we are 48 hours later, and Kamala Harris is the next coming of God. What the heck is going on here?
What the heck is going on? Like, yes, there's been much made. Okay, there's been much made of him, rumors that he died, that he is dead. Well, I kind of didn't fall into that. I don't think that he is dead. And I don't think they're going to put a fake Joe Biden out there. But even as I'm saying that, I do realize that anything is possible, and truth is stranger than fiction.
Look at this. Yeah, we've got video here. This is video, apparently. This Mr. is Biden. Video of Joe Biden coming out of his car.
Yeah.
No audio on this, but we're going to watch him walk up the steps of the plane here, and he does not look
he's making it up the steps, okay.
Yeah, but he doesn't look right. He's doddering. But
Yeah, he is.
People are saying that's not Joe Biden. That's not Joe Biden. And of course, you see the comparison videos, right, of the face and the way he's walking and all of that. So what exactly is going on here?
I think that is Joe Biden. I think it is, and I think he's meant to address he's going to do an address tomorrow, so they got to wheel him out. He's got to be there. To me, that way he walked up the steps and the way he was walking looks to me exactly like how he was when he came out for the debate, and he looked lost the second he got on the stage at the debate. Right?
Yeah.
So he looked frail and lost. The man is old. He is not doing well. If he came into my office to apply for a job, I'd have to say, no, sweetheart, go home. Right? Like, I wouldn't.
You're 81 years old, sir. Go and sit on your front porch. Have yourself a nice cup of tea. Enjoy the day.
Yeah, I would be like, you can't do this hustle and bustle and the billing and answering the phones or whatever we do in the medical office. This is not right for you. Never mind running the free world. Okay?
Right.
So I think that scuttlebutt just happened because the letter was not on official letterhead. The signature they questioned looked different. These people have nothing to do with anything. They have people tweet for them, write for them. They have people that do this stuff. It is weird that he would drop. Last week he's like, I'm the only one that can beat Trump. Oh, and then this week he's like, I gotta go.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what happened between then and now? Because he hasn't had an episode, at least if that report that Tucker Carlson read is incorrect. And maybe he just did have a case of COVID. I don't know.
Did they say he had COVID, whatever? He's probably had like a lot of exhaustion too, because he does have a very big schedule. And even someone like you and me, if we had to keep up that schedule, we'd be tired too. And he is old and maybe emergency services was called and he had to go there and stuff like that. But I don't think he died. I think what happened is that there is so much immense pressure.
I don't think he died. I don't think he's died. I think that's funny that we actually have to even say that.
And it's funny that the Trump assassination is yesterday's news.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But I think it had to do with the donors, that they're just like, we are pulling our money out. We cannot support this man anymore. And this woman here, Kamala, has made a lot of money lately.
$81 million, apparently. She set a record. So look, this is from the press conference. 81 million, they say. So this is from the press conference that she did, I think it was yesterday morning when she had Joe Biden on the phone with her. That a lot of people are saying that wasn't really Joe Biden. He's not that clear. It's an AI.
It's very easy to AI fake a voice too. Super easy.
Okay, so I'm going to play this. And listen to the one part where Kamala makes a mistake and says, it's so good to have you on a recording, as opposed to being there live. Let's listen to this because it's quite interesting, really.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking.
On the call. What?
Oh my God! You know what? I didn't hear that part before. That is a complete total subliminal slip.
You think so? Freudian slip?
Yeah.
Like when she said depopulation a couple of years ago, when she actually meant something else, like she didn't say depopulation, reduce population as opposed to reduce pollution.
Yeah. Okay. Can you play it again?
Yeah, I can play it again.
I want to hear that part. Yeah.
All right. Let's. The look on your face was priceless. Here we go.
Good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and
on the writ. Joe, I know you're still on the call.
Oh man, no. She wanted to say, I know you're still on the recording, which is also a stupid sentence. Yeah. Wow.
All right. So this is a story about, it came from Fox News. We'll play the first minute or two of this. Sure. A palace coup undertaken by Nancy Pelosi, they say, Chuck Schumer, and other powerful Democrats. This is very interesting. Listen to this.
endorsements from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Leader Kamala Harris is holding her first campaign rally in Milwaukee today. That comes after an action-packed day for the new Democratic frontrunner. She's already picked up enough Democratic delegates to become the party's presidential nominee. Now she's reportedly set to get 2 major endorsements from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Leader Chuck Schumer. Today's New York Post cover calling her sudden rise the, quote, Queen's Gambit. In just 2 days, she's basically been crowned by her party. But new reporting suggests that Harris's ascent was all orchestrated by Democratic elites like Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi has already endorsed Harris. And behind the scenes, she reportedly suggested that Biden's exit could be done, quote, the easy way or the hard way. And a source close to the Biden family reportedly telling the New York Post, quote, the well-orchestrated palace coup to stop the faltering president from seeking re-election had been in place for weeks, but stubborn Biden fought it every step of the way. That debate was a setup to convince Democrats that he could not run for president. Tudor.
Nancy Pelosi.
All right, so there goes the 5 on their conversation. I mean, that's interesting. We're going to do it the easy way, or we're going to do it the hard way. A palace coup.
Yeah.
What? I mean, this is the most undemocratic from the party that claims we're trying to save our democracy.
Yeah.
By taking out Joe Biden and then just installing Kamala Harris. And I'm sure that you've seen all of the memes that have been flying around today and yesterday that Kamala is the queen now. I mean, like we saw it in that video there. What are your thoughts on this? It seems kind of quick, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, everything's moving at breakneck pace, and it is almost like a monarchy, right? Because when you watch mainstream media reports on her, except for that one, she is treated like royalty. The pictures, she looks shiny and beautiful, lip gloss on, perfect, right? She looks, so it is like a monarchy. So they're even telling you that, the palace has chosen their new queen, and so get behind her. And even all the celebrities get behind her. What are they, stupid? I don't understand this. Like, how can you get behind her?
I mean, she didn't win one delegate in the 2020 run-up to the election. Not one. She dropped out on December the 19th before they even started voting in the Democratic nomination process. That's how poorly she did. Joe Biden obviously selected her as vice president because he knew that she was absolutely incompetent. Plus, she's a black woman. I believe she's got some Asian background as well. And it looked good in the Democratic Party. It satisfied the far left fringes of the party. But
she's your classic DEI hire, because I've not even heard her ever utter an intelligent sentence in my life. And I was trying, like, I've never, and she's constantly laughing like your drunk auntie at a party, right? Like, and she's Indian like me. My dad is half Tamil, my dad is Tamil, then she's half Tamil, half Jamaican. She's Indian. I expect her to be smarter, and I can say that I'm Indian. I'm the only person that can say that. She's an embarrassment. And you know what? I was trying to look up her accomplishments as vice president. And you know what? On whitehouse.com, it says she's a champion for abortion, like for freedom for women to make choices. She wants the world to be safe from gun violence, and she wants you to drink clean water and breathe clean air. These are the 3 things that they said on whitehouse.com as what Kamala Harris supports. Drink water? I know that I need to drink water.
Yeah, I put up a picture of her last night with Alex Soros at some party. And it wasn't like one of those, you see Donald Trump in pictures with all these celebrities from years gone by. And it's almost like he's just standing next to this person like, hey, Mr. Trump, can I get a photo with you? And he says, yeah, sure. And then he goes and poses for it. This one was different. This one was, she's arm in arm with Alex Soros and they're buddies. And I think that I know that she is completely and totally funded by Soros. I mean, she was the attorney general in California. She was implementing the Soros plan like all of these Soros DAs all across the United States to go soft on crime, let the criminals go, don't arrest the Palestinian protesters. Don't arrest the BLM protesters. I mean, that whole thing. Arrest Donald Trump. Try him on every little thing that you can find. So what is your take, Anita, on all of this stuff that we've seen so far? They've anointed, and by the way, there's a new poll out too today, comes from Reuters, and the poll says that, surprise, surprise, Kamala Harris leads Trump in the popular vote. Came out today.
I don't
couldn't even
believe
believe
that poll for a second. I saw that it's Reuters. Reuters is a corrupted news source that we used at Global News. I think its dealings go back to the Rothschild family, although I'm not, I don't really want to bring them up. But Reuters is a corrupt news source, as is the AP Wire. So there's no poll where you would find young people voting for her. Maybe some like her because she's seen as hip and woke, maybe. And some Democrats are saying that she's re-energized the party. But the woman doesn't have a hope in hell. But, okay, Shadow, has she had some smarts? I mean, she
No.
was a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Is she just book smart, or how did she get here?
Well, now this is going to sound awfully sexist, but it's not coming from me. This is just what I've heard from independent journalists. I think Charlie Kirk said it. Yeah, or maybe it was Dave Rubin. Anyway, he said that she slept her way to the top. That's what they've been saying about her. And I don't know. I mean,
I don't feel like slept with Willie Brown, but I think he was separated. Maybe she's sleeping with the Soros, Alex Soros.
I don't know.
There's lots of hook, huak, tua.
Huak tua. That's the first time that expression has come up on this show. Thank you for bringing it up. Huak tua. I like that. Hey, listen. What's going on in BC, Anita, right now? I mean, because I want to come back to the Canadian situation for a while, and people are saying, Shadow, you got to talk about Canada. They've been talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump for the last couple of weeks, and that's where the news has been. Canada's quiet right now because all of the MPs and everybody they're on the barbecue circuit. But the Liberals and the NDP are still very strong on Twitter, and they're going after Pierre Poilievre. And BC, a new poll came out the other day that shows the NDP, the David Eby NDP, is tied with the Conservative Party. I'm not going to say the new Conservative Party in British Columbia, the reinvigorated under John Rustad Conservative Party. 37% each with the Liberals, formerly the Liberals. What are they called now? BC United. 10%. The Greens are sitting at 5%. What is have you been feeling this at all in BC?
No, I don't feel anything for David Eby. He's like a nothing burger. He's like, people don't even know about him, think about him. He wasn't elected. He only got in by default because that other woman was disqualified, the woman he was running against or whatever.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't even know. I feel like he's not on anyone's radar whatsoever. And nobody gets mad about anything. And the thing that makes me the most angry in BC is that we're the only province with mandates.
Still. What mandates have you got still with masks in hospitals still?
No jab, no job.
Still? That's outrageous. Let's come back to that. We do have a special guest who is jumping in on the show. It's Granny Mackay out there in Alberta. Granny?
You don't look like a granny.
No, she doesn't, but that's been the nickname.
I know.
Hi, guys.
Granny, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Very good. Yeah, there's just a slight delay. Say hello to Anita Krishna. She's my guest tonight, and thank you for popping on, Granny. How was the day in court today?
It was really good. Chris is doing a fantastic job. He's answering all the questions. He's beyond respectful. You need to admire this man. He's been in a remand for over 880 days. And the man that's questioning him it's because of him that he's been there for over 880 days. So when Chris is showing respect, yes, Mr. Johnston, like, he's so respectful and so calm and is keeping his cool. And Chris just looks like a rock star up there right now.
So you're talking about Chris Carbert, who is testifying on his own behalf as the trial continues of the Coots too. How is Tony doing? Is he going to be up on the stand at some point also?
No, Tony is sitting, and like I said, we call that big box they built for them the Hannibal Lecter box. And Tony's sitting over there all by himself. I asked Tony, I said, how does that feel? You know, because they went from 4 guys to 2 guys. And now Chris Carbert's on the stand and he's sitting over in that box all by himself. He says it feels a little weird. But Tony will not be testifying. His case is done. And a lot of people ask, why is he not testifying? And the judge instructed the jury, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a defense strategy. They were able to lay everything out with the witnesses that they brought on the stand. So by Tony did a 5.5 hour statement when he was interrogated. You know,
yeah, we've seen it.
Yeah, that's enough. He doesn't need to do any more. And sometimes less is more. And not to read anything into it. It's just a different strategy. Catherine and Chris decided to put Chris on the stand. So it's just a different strategy. It doesn't really mean anything. But Chris is knocking it out of the park. He's doing a great job.
So how are the boys doing in terms of mood? I mean, as you say, 88 is it now?
It's over 880. I'm not sure, it's mid 80s. I'm not sure where it is right now. I have to check on that again. But their spirits are good. Obviously, they're anxious. You know, they could be out next week. So that's exciting all on its own. And we just need to let this play out. It looks like this should be another day to 2 days with Chris. And then sometime within the next week, the 2 defense lawyers in the Crown will do their closing remarks. Then the judge will give instructions to the jury. And when he's done the instructions to the jury, then the jury goes out and deliberates on, and that could be, they could be as fast as an hour or they could be days. Who knows, right?
Wow. I can't even believe. Anita, do you have any questions for Granny while she's here? While you're both here?
I kind of do, because I've reported on the Coots before, but I'm not completely up to date. So maybe you can keep me up to date. It sounds like you're saying that they might, that he could be released next week or possibly.
Possibly.
Question number 1, what is the charge that he's still in there for? Is it mischief? 888 days for mischief?
Well, all 4 of the men that were arrested at Coots had the most serious charge is called conspiracy to murder RCMP officers. That's the most serious. Then you've got mischief over $5,000, weapons, something dangerous purpose. I'm not quite sure. And then there was an explosive one for Tony, and everything's being brought out into the open. And when you're charged with conspiracy to murder, there are 3 thresholds you have to meet. They've barely met 1.
Okay.
Wow.
That's what I was thinking. So, I mean, this is a bogus charge. Obviously, this mischief, or the conspiracy to commit murder, and I hope that is eliminated quickly, right? This has been too long. This is a complete Canadian injustice story. This is like legendary injustice. It boils my blood to even hear that this man is in friggin' remand for this long, because he was protesting, all of them, for the mandates. And so you're hopeful because there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, you feel, by being in the courtroom. That's your sense?
There's a whole lot of light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, good.
I've always said that these men needed to share their truth, and their truth is here. And if you could sit in the courtroom, you would hear the truth is the truth. Maybe not the most perfect truth, but is the truth. There was no conspiracy, and if there's going to be mischief, well, then they better pull out the pen and paper, and they should have charged thousands on thousands and thousands of people for being down there. So,
Granny, you've been there. You've been supporting these guys since the beginning. And first of all, let me just say thank you for that, and thank you for getting the word out on their behalf for the last, 2 years, over 2 years now. What is your sense about what's going on in the court right now? Are you starting to feel like the pressure is lifting? Are people starting to go, yeah, there's no way they're going to be convicted? What is the mood of the jury? Is the jury like getting antsy, or are they engaged in all of this? What's your general feeling?
Yeah, the jury is very engaged. They're writing, they're flipping through the pages. Like they have a sea of paperwork and evidence. They've got 3 binders of paper evidence. They've got digital evidence. It is a lot of information. And I've been following this, and there's days where I'm sitting there and I'm confused. I can't even imagine how the jury is feeling at times because it's so much information. But they've been keeping notes. They've been, like I said, very engaged. They're listening and they're paying attention.
What about the judge?
I've always liked the judge. I feel he's doing his job. Like, he's doing a great job as far as I'm concerned. He explains things, and it doesn't matter if it's the defense or the Crown. He sets them straight. If they cross a line, he sets them straight. Like, when Stephen Johnston gets a little cocky, he say, okay, you need to stop that.
That's the Crown prosecutor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he gets a little kind of mouthy, like he gets a little arrogant, and the judge won't stand for it. And if we've learned anything, is we're learning about hearsay. Oh my gosh, this hearsay rule is insane. Like, honestly, Shadow, you and I could be having a conversation and I can't repeat what you've said to me.
No, because it's hearsay. Yeah, you're not hearing it from the horse's mouth, right? If it goes through 2 or 3 people, it's not. You can't say that because you didn't witness it for yourself. So that's one of those things for sure. So when is the conclusion again of the trial? Next week, you said?
We're assuming next week. We're assuming another day to 2 days with Chris Carbert, and then this is so unprecedented. None of us knows where this is going to go. Like, we know this and this and this has to happen. What kind of timeline that will take? We're hoping at the start of next week they're doing their closing remarks.
What do they say about juries? When we talk about juries, the longer they're in, the better off we are, or is it like a quick decision is better? I forget.
I don't know. We've heard people talking about, really bad, real criminal cases, and it can take anywhere from 1 hour to 10 days.
Yeah. Anita, anything else?
Well, it boggles my mind that this has taken so long for mischief. Like, did the government just want to make an example out of these men? Everybody at the time was feeling like you felt like the government froze your bank account. You couldn't protest. They wanted to force inject you and then ruin your career and your life. So people were frustrated. What did they expect? And they're still punishing people who stood up. I mean, I know a lot of men that are like, feel the same way and so get behind what the Coots 4 did. We all felt the same way. And then they kind of busted these guys and tried to make an example of them. It's completely and totally unfair. It is our version of J6. And I don't know.
What's interesting? You say that. I posted a meme today on social media about vaccinations, and it said, oh, sure, you could ask us about our vaccine status before, and now to come into your house, and now we ask about your vaccine status after somebody dies, and it's like, you can't do that. Oh, no. And then people are saying to me in the comments, they're saying, well, why can't you just forget about it? Just move past it. Get over it, man. No, because there's still a mandate in British Columbia, like you just said, Anita, and they've still got 2 innocent, in my opinion, 2 innocent men going through a trial after being incarcerated, right? Not convicted. They've been incarcerated for 880 some odd days, which is absolutely deplorable. They are political prisoners, and that reduces Canada to a banana republic. What is the mood of these 2 guys, of Chris and Tony? Are they all right still?
As you know, they're strong Christian men, and their faith is pulling them through. And the people of Canada have pulled them through. Financially, they've kept, the phone packages and the iPads and the canteen going. They've been writing them. The people pulled these two men through. And so Canada needs to be proud of themselves for that, because it's typically a plea deal that comes out because they can't make it.
Yeah.
Well, we know that the other two guys did a plea deal because I think their circumstances were slightly different in the lockup that they were experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Tony and Jerry. But sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
It will all come out. Like I said, this is there's accountability list about a mile long. When this is said and done, there's lawyers that will be held accountable. There's a lot to be held accountable out there. It's just no time to do it right now because the two men come first. And eventually the backstory truth is going to come out. And that's going to be
the contents of that letter, maybe, Granny?
I don't think that will ever come out.
No?
No,
That's too bad.
They locked it up solid, and I don't think we'll ever see it.
Okay, so look, I know that you're running back and forth every single day. You're going. By the way, how many people have been attending the trial? Is it full courtroom, or is it?
I would say the courtroom typically will hold 85 people, but they've roped off 2 rows that's closest to the jury, just to give them space. So I would say the courtroom would hold 60, and it's full.
I'm sorry, repeat that, please. We lost you for 2 seconds.
Oh, the courtroom would normally hold 85 people, but 2 rows are roped off due to being close to the jurors. So I would say this probably holds 60, 65-ish, and it's full. Okay,
good. And more and more people are showing interest as I suppose as we get closer to the end here, right?
And we're seeing some new faces, which really, that's huge too. It's not the same old faces all the time. But there's new faces, and there's messages being reached out and prayer circles across this country. The country, they're there for them. Tony said he could feel it. His ears were ringing a lot today, and that means, people thinking of you. And he says, I can feel the love.
I know you were carpooling with Tony's mom. How's she doing?
Yes, she's doing good. We keep her. She wasn't feeling well one day last week, so we just take her straight out of the courtroom and we just drive away, go have our lunch, and it's not, we're not trying to be rude or anything, but she needs her space right now. It's very stressful. She wants her boy home, and so we're kind of sheltering her a little bit, but she's doing great. Tessie's hardy.
Okay, Granny, thank you for popping on tonight. I appreciate you doing this. I know you've had a long day, a long 2 years, and I want to talk to you again as we get closer and closer to the finish line. And I want to thank you for the invite that you sent me last week. Come on out here, Shadow. We need you. So, well, you know what? You do have some pretty good people who are covering the case, and I would love to be out there, but I can't concentrate on just one thing. However, I am happy, very happy, to put whatever I can, whatever news I can of what's going on out there, because it's such a travesty of justice and it's an embarrassment for our country. And I want to thank you for all of your dedication to all of this. Really appreciate you taking the time tonight.
And thank you for sharing, and thank you for caring. And you guys have a wonderful evening. I'll let you finish your show now.
All right, Grady, thank you.
Okay, love you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. Wow, that is certainly
That's
something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is dedication. And Pat King is on trial in Ottawa right now, and we've got a guy called Right Blend, Patriot Smoothie, the artist formerly known as Patriot Smoothie, who is doing reports all over social media as to how that trial is going. Jonathan Villeneuve, he also did a lot of live reports during the Tamara Leach and Chris Barber trial, which is supposed to be starting up again in January, I think. In BC, you just said that that there's still no jab, no job. You can't work in British Columbia because of having no vaccine?
You cannot work in the hospital. So you cannot be a nurse, healthcare worker, care aide, paramedic, hospital cleaner. You cannot be a physiotherapist, acupuncturist, chiropractor, massage therapist without your jabs.
What's
In
going
British
on in
Columbia.
BC? What the hell's
Yeah.
going on out there?
Well, we're all wrapped up in the damn vaccine money-making thing. Our government is all tied in with the pharmaceutical companies that made the lipid nanoparticle, that whole Arbutus, Acuitas, schmozzle, that also Bill Gates had a hand in, that have kind of just learned. This is not my reporting. This is mainly the reporting of David Martin.
Yep.
He sort of it breaks that down, but I mean, Canada made money every time we gave out a shot. It's just that BC is hanging on for dear life because I think that we have sort of other governmental ties because that lipid nanoparticle is the agent that they used for all the vaccines, and that was formulated here and created in British Columbia. So they must have a kickback beyond a kickback. They are not giving any money to the hospitals, I can tell you that much, because they're sending people to the States and there's long waits and there's no doctors, emergency rooms closed down, the whole schmozzle, and this numbnuts Bonnie Henry still has her job. And you know what? When I saw Kim Cheadle get her ass handed to her yesterday in that hearing, I was fantasizing that I'd love to see Bonnie Henry get the same treatment.
What is it with Canada? How come we're so far behind what's going on in the United States? Why aren't there politicians in this country who want to stand up and say, wait a minute here, hold on, let's question what the hell just happened here in the last 4 years?
Exactly. Here they all questioning all these other things and then trying to take out the Liberals for SNC Lavalin or whatever, all the other scandals, and they arrive can. I don't care. I care about those things, but people were injured and died and lost everything, lost their businesses, and there's no accountability. So where are the politicians standing up to say, hey, we need to look back on what happened? We can't just go wipe our hands of it.
Well, they tell us that we need to do that, but they've still got the Coots guys on trial. And I mean, why can't they wipe their hands of that?
Yeah, just go like that. Wrap it up. This is over now. You want us to forget about it? You guys didn't forget about it. And people lost a lot. Relationships, lots of miscarriages, spontaneous abortions, menstrual abnormalities. Lots of heart problems, myocarditis, blah, blah, blah. I work in a medical clinic right now, and, I worked with a chiropractor who had to take it. He had pericarditis when he was a young boy, and now he has heart problems. I mean, how many hundreds of people have you talked to since you've been doing this? Injured people.
I'd never heard of myocarditis before any of this started. Now it seems to be.
Me neither. But this one chiropractor was like, I have pericarditis. I had it when I was 12, right? And he's in his 30s. And so I had never heard of it, but this is another side effect. And where's our provincial health officer? Or where is any of these people we watched? Who did you have in Winnipeg? I can't remember. They wheel out the guy. So it was like Kieran Moore in Ontario, and it's so and so.
Bald-headed guy. I forget his name.
And they all.
I don't ever want to remember his name.
I know,
Anita.
I can't remember either.
Brent Rusin. Oh my God! Right, Brent Rusin. Oh.
They wheel out that one guy, and he comes to stand at. Where's the army of doctors? Oh, not seen here. So people are still bitter, and I hate when people say, "Oh, get over it now," because I have people say that. Oh, it's over now. Is it? I lost my whole career standing up for people and getting bullied by that friggin' stupid global news network who kicked my ass out the door when I was a good employee just for saying, do you think it's right what we're doing?
Yeah.
No, they don't care. Look at them. William, that's why they're going down and no one's watching them, because everyone knows.
So what do you think the next thing is? Because we've been hearing that there's going to be a bird flu conference in Washington at the beginning of October. You've heard about that, I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
And they kind of been floating that one around. It seems to me they've been looking for the next thing for the last couple of years or so. The monkeypox, some different strain of COVID, maybe. Joe Biden got COVID last week. Ooh, maybe it's some new strain. We're going to come up with a new vaccine for it.
His damn shots didn't work, did they?
Exactly. So what then is the next thing?
Well,
I mean, I understand how difficult it is to predict all of this stuff. If you're not Alex Jones, that is.
yeah. Who they say is a part of it or control
Yeah.
that position. I don't know. We don't know who to trust. It's just people like you and me. We're just trying to dig and present, right? But they want to get jabs in you. So if you're not going to willingly go take them, you might then eat them because they're PCRing the cows and doing this, and they might cull the chickens and do all that kind of thing. So if you're not going to willingly take it, you're going to eat it. If we put a bird flu vaccine in chickens, and Teresa Tam was talking about all that, they talk about unpasteurized milk, or only have pasteurized milk. We can't have raw milk, but you can have fentanyl. You can get fentanyl anytime you want. You can't get a glass of raw milk, for goodness sake. So there's a lot of problems with the jabs. They're not making as much money. Every vaccine nowadays has the mRNA technology in it, and that's gone down the toilet. So how do you get this back up again? Create another pandemic. So there is that element to it, and maybe a person like Kamala Harris would be the type of person, if she did get in, that she'd be like, oh well, we got to do this, and she would be the total yes man to then destroy you even more, destroy the country even more. So that could be one thing about the bird flu. But the other thing I was just going to think, just to go back to just Trump a little bit, is that now Trump has reached this godlike status because he dodged that bullet, literally, and that is a very good mind eraser for warp speed. So there is a group of, there are some people that we don't like you because of warp speed and the friggin' lockdowns. And so this is the mind eraser. Then he becomes the hero, and he becomes like Jesus. And so then maybe in the future you will follow him to war. Because then he's going to get in, and maybe his little Palantir buddies will start a war in Iran or something like that. And you'll get behind Trump. You won't get behind Kamala Harris or Biden, but you might get behind Trump. He took a bullet for you. You take a bullet for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. That meme that came out, Donald Trump stands up to a bullet, right? And there's and that's the other thing that we didn't mention earlier. That perfect picture that they got of Trump with his fist up in the air as he went fight, 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 right? And with the flag billowing in the background. And I just thought, that picture is too perfect for this not to be a setup. I mean, I still don't know. I asked the question.
I don't know either. Is it just luck? Was he just a really good photographer? It's so good.
We don't even know if the kid, the 20-year-old, is the one who actually shot him. Because now we're hearing that there's 3 other people that they've picked up, or not picked up, but were suspicious. Plus, there's some suspicious blob on the water tower 448 yards away. I mean, there's still so much to be answered. And as you point out, the Trump shooting is already out of the news cycle because of all this stuff going on.
Yeah, it should still be the lead, but now you got Queen Kamala everywhere.
Well, that's the thing, though, right? I mean, you spent years in journalism. You're still a journalist. You still do your own thing. I mean, they're moving this news cycle incredibly fast, so fast, intentionally, in my opinion, so we can't possibly keep up and absorb all of this information. We can't.
It makes our head spin on purpose. And so maybe what should we be looking at that they're doing that we're not seeing? It probably is all this back channel stuff. They're cultivating and shaping our minds. For whatever reason. Well, why do they need to do this so bad? I mean, obviously the WEF is very in tune with the UN. They have an agenda they have to meet in 2030, and maybe this is all part of it.
And by the way, that Peter Thiel guy that we were talking about earlier, he's one of the lead directors of the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
So, right,
It's such a slow game too. I often say that. I'm like, gosh, they've been at this for years, but now it's accelerated to this pace. For me, I feel like if my government wanted to jab me with something that could have harmed me and they didn't care if I died, then I don't recognize this world anymore. And everything else that's spinning around and going on, I also don't recognize and I don't trust. So I would encourage regular people, when everybody says, what can they do, that if some stupid policy comes into play where this is damaging to society, I don't need one person to stand up. I need all of you employees to stand up to management and say, we will not implement this policy. We are not doing this. It can't just be one person, and that's one thing we can do because it's crazy. Shadow, it's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Anita, I love having you on the show. I love it.
I loved it so much. You were awesome.
Oh, thanks.
You did a wonderful job because I know it's a lot of work, right? You got to find all the clips and get all the stuff, and you're doing it. I know what it's like, and you're doing a fantastic job. And,
Well, thanks.
I just enjoy it so much. So
Thanks very much. And you are doing your own thing too, right? People can find you on social media.
I recently I did get a shout out from Jimmy Dore on Joe Rogan because Jimmy Dore has kind of become a friend, which I'm just absolutely thrilled at. And I was working because he said that global, I was taking global on because of the lies. I was going to do a series of videos talking about all the lies that I saw, and I've done one video, but I haven't put it out yet. So if if anybody follows me on my Substack or my Rumble channel or just AnitaKrishna.com, I'm going to put that out soon, and you can check out some of my other work. I don't do it every day because I have a day job.
Right. Well, you got the kids too, right? You got to find time to do these things.
Yeah, I have a family, and I don't like. I find it hard to just be a YouTuber and be successful, because I get kicked off all the time.
Yeah. I got a warning last night about copyright. I guess these people don't understand the concept of fair use. Yeah, it's crazy.
I did too.
All right, go find Anita, you guys, on social media. Go to AnitaKrishna.com.
Yeah.
Follow her. Become a member of her team and follow her for updates. Thank you, Anita. Again, we'll do this again soon. Really appreciate
Shadow,
it.
thank you so much, and thank you guys all for watching. See you guys.
All right, bye. Have a great night. Isn't she great? I love Anita coming on the show. She's just so full of energy and questions. That's it for the social media tonight, you guys. We still have much more to cover, including a video from a large American right-leaning YouTube channel going ahead and talking about Canada now being on the right track, not because of Justin Trudeau, but because of Pierre Poilievre. Americans are starting to recognize that Canada may be waking up. That and more, including that shock poll that came out today that shows Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump thanks to Reuters. That came out, but there's a catch to that poll. There is a catch, and we'll reveal exactly what that catch is when we come back on the extension in just a couple of minutes for all you all-access pass holders at shadowdavis.com. So if you're not a pass holder yet, go and become one. shadowdavis.com, SHADOEDAVIS.com. If not, I will catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. By the way, thank you to Granny Mackay for coming on as well. I'll catch you on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. Love you all, appreciate you all, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.